Hello, everybody. Welcome to Parinama Yoga Online. In this video, we continue part 2 of our series on Ayurvedic treatments, in which we discuss Panchakarma, the 5 purifying actions of Ayurveda, in a little bit more detail. Let's dive right in. Again, I want to start with a warning that was at the end of part 1 of this series on Ayurvedic treatments. With Panchakarma, just hearing about Panchakarma or reading about Panchakarma is not enough for you to do Panchakarma on your own. Do not attempt to do Panchakarma alone. It can have very serious effects on your health if it's not guided by an Ayurvedic doctor or an Ayurvedic consultant that was trained by Ayurvedic doctors. So please take this to heart. This is for educational purposes, so that if you seek to have a deeper healing experience, you would then approach an Ayurvedic doctor, or you can ask me for the types of Panchakarma that I offer. But it must be guided, and there are some forms of Panchakarma that I can recommend to you that are basic minimized forms that you can do on your own. And sometimes I already have that included in your Ayurvedic plan. However, for a real Panchakarma experience, it has to be a one-on-one experience. It's not just online. You would have to come to where I live and spend 25, 19, or 7 days. 7 days is the minimum period of time for a real full Panchakarma treatment. And you would have to have a Airbnb or a hotel nearby where I could come and I can help to facilitate these different processes. It involves a lot of deep rest and deep treatment therapies in which you cannot be working. It would have to be a spiritual retreat, a healing retreat for yourself for a minimum of 7 days. So consider that for yourself if you want to have a full Panchakarma purifying experience for the healing of your body. And again, sometimes I do reduced forms of Panchakarma therapy for my clients, which I may be describing in this video. So again, I can't say it enough. Warning, do not attempt to do Panchakarma by yourself just by having watched this video or reading a book or going online and reading about it. It could be quite dangerous. So Panchakarma can be very dangerous if done without the guidance of an Ayurvedic doctor or a trained, certified Ayurvedic consultant like myself. All procedures have in-depth preparatory treatments. You don't just dive into doing any one of these Panchakarma activities. There are preparatory treatments for the treatments itself, which may not be described to you in a book or a video or a website. There are many contraindications for each of the Panchakarma actions, dependent on age of the person, climate, time of the year, season of the year, and device type and disease type, pardon me. The following information is for educational purposes only. Ask me, Eknath, about doing Panchakarma if you are interested in a full Panchakarma treatment. Such a healing retreat is far beyond the scope of an Ayur-Nutrition consultation, though some simplified aspects of Panchakarma may be part of your Ayur-Nutrition plan as it applies to your individual health situation. Panchakarma may not include all 5 therapies for all clients. So now we're going to discuss each of the 5 Panchakarmas that may be offered in a Panchakarma treatment. And some of them you'll see will not resonate with you. For example, the first Panchakarma action, Vamana, which means vomiting, is something that really turns me off. I cannot stand the feeling of vomiting. Just the thought of it makes me cringe. So the thought of vomiting, in my mind, having grown up in the West, in the United States, vomiting is seen as you being sick, not you getting healthy. But vomiting is induced vomiting to get different things out of our system. And that's really what the body does when it's sick, right? You vomit when you need to get stuff out of your system that shouldn't be there. So vomiting is a natural reaction to purify the body and its systems. So that's what it does. And if somebody is really deeply sick, an Ayurvedic doctor or Ayurvedic consultant may suggest inducing vomiting to purify the body, to get rid of things that are making you not feel well. And I did discuss, I know that's not universally true that everybody in the West thinks that vomiting is terrible. I once expressed this to a friend of mine that was not even interested in Ayurveda. And I said, oh, just the idea of vomiting makes me sick. I wouldn't ever want to do that. And she said, really? Sometimes when I vomit, I just feel so much better. So people's experiences and thought on this may be different. So I don't want to prejudice you against it. But needless to say, this is a very healing therapy in Ayurveda. So again, the goal of Panchakarma is to rid the body of malas, which is urine and excrement, meaning our kidneys purify our body by making us pee, right? Just bringing it down to the basic language. We're flushing out things that shouldn't be in our body and in our system. It purifies our blood, the kidneys. And a lot of reasons why many people come to Ayurveda or herbal therapies is because they are constipated or they have indigestion. When we have indigestion or constipation, obviously excrement, our poo, cannot leave our body. So one of the goals of Panchakarma is to help facilitate the movement of digested and undigested foods from the digestive tract. And of course, in the last several videos in this playlist, we talked about amma, which are the building blocks of disease. They are toxins or buildup in the body that make us feel unwell. So the goal of all 5 therapies is to rid the body of malas and amma. One technique for doing this is vamana, or vomiting. This is done in a very specific way for certain situations, and it is not done when certain health conditions are present. It is used widely to heal respiratory issues, which may seem unconnected to the Western mind, but it is in Ayurveda. So in many different areas of India have different ways of doing this. There are many schools or sects, so to speak, of Ayurveda, and they induce this vomiting through different combinations of herbs and manipulation of the body, like massaging different areas of the body, making you drink certain things or eat certain things to induce vomiting. This is one such Panchakarma action. Next, we have virechana, which means to purge the body. So again, when we have indigestion, we eat food into the mouth, it comes down to the esophagus, into the stomach where it's processed, and then it starts moving through our intestines, down and out to the anus. But a lot of people, if not most of us, have undigested food in the colon. And we need to push that undigested food out in order to cleanse the colon. This cannot be done whenever you are constipated. You have to relieve constipation first before you do a purge of the body. And I often do recommend a lighter form of virechana, the purge. I often recommend saltwater cleanses as long as a person does not have any kind of tumor in their body, because salt can affect tumor in negative ways. Salt, take it in this way, not necessarily table salt. But anyhow, I really do like a purge effect. And I often recommend a saltwater cleanse, which is a very gentle cleanse, as opposed to using senna or castor oil, which are very aggressive ways to remove constipation in Ayurveda and Western herbology, etc. But anyhow, virechana involves the cleanse of the intestines of amma and malas, poo specifically. There are many ways to do this. Eknath does, that's me, I'm Eknath. If you're just meeting me for the first time in this video, I do recommend several gentle ways to do this depending on health conditions present. Usually I recommend very gentle herbs to remove constipation and then to cause a cleanse. Or if people do not have constipation as a symptom in their body, then I move on to saltwater cleanses, which are done in a very specific way that I recommend in my Ayur-Nutrition plans when appropriate. And you do it for up to 7 days, minimally once a season. maximally, if that's even a word, right? 7 days per month. And you could also do small periods. Like oftentimes I do saltwater cleanses just on the weekend because I tend to be a very busy mobile person. So oftentimes I will do saltwater cleanses for just 2-day periods in the weekend. So depending on how much cleansing needs to happen based off of your Ayurvedic consultation, I would recommend different lengths of time for saltwater cleanses. So before you do a purge of any sort, whether it's more complicated Ayurvedic purge or a saltwater cleanse, which is a basic form of this that I do recommend to my clients, herbal laxatives and a light vegetarian diet are recommended beforehand, before doing a 7-day saltwater cleanse or a purge through the Ayurvedic system that we're not going to get into great detail on, just letting you know that it does exist. And such an intestinal cleanse can be done as part of Panchakarma or as seasonal maintenance. One of my great healing teachers taught me to do a saltwater cleanse for 7-day periods between 3 and 5 a.m. once a season. But it can be done more often to have more purifying benefits. Basti, enema. Sounds similar, but it's not quite the same because the saltwater cleanse or Virechana cleanses the whole intestinal tract from mouth to anus. Basti is an enema, which is using an enema bag full of herbal preparation to cleanse the rectum and the bottom of the colon, so to speak. So the enema is traditionally the most important therapy in Ayurveda. It is 50% of a Panchakarma therapeutic regime or regiment. It flushes malas and amma out of the gastrointestinal tract via the rectal area. Virechana is administered via the mouth and cleanses the whole digestive tract from mouth to anus and out. So from where food enters to where food exits. And there are different kinds of enemas. There are tonifying enemas and there are purifying enemas, which will be described to you if you need them. But tonifying basically means to normalize body tissue, and purifying means you're getting rid of stuck stuff that is making you feel unwell. The fourth kind of Panchakarma, or the fourth action of Panchakarma, is Nasya, which is nasal cleaning. We do suggest using a neti pot and Nasya, and I do recommend this to almost all of my clients. There's a short video in this playlist on how to use a neti pot and how to use Nasya. Whenever you're doing Panchakarma, it's a much more deep, involved process. It's not as simple as what I recommend in your Ayurveda plan. But when you do Panchakarma, it's much more thorough, much more deep, etc. But anyhow, Nasya is nasal cleaning. It cleans out the sinuses and the head, etc. Deeper forms of Nasya, both the basic form that I teach in our Ayurveda plans and this deeper Panchakarma cleanse, is often used to get rid of allergies, respiratory issues, different things like that. Deep sinus infections or problems, recurrent sinus infections, etc. That's one of the reasons why a deeper form of Nasya would be prescribed through Panchakarma therapy. Migraines, headaches can also be greatly reduced through this particular aspect of Panchakarma. So the goal of Nasya is to cleanse the nose, sinuses, and the head using a neti pot, adding medicated oils to the nasal passages and sinuses, neck massages, and medicated steam cloths administered to the face are used in Nasya. And these are just the very superficial aspects of Panchakarma in regard to Nasya. It goes much deeper than this. Lesser variations of this full treatment, as I've already said, are taught for my students to do as dinacharya, a daily routine for certain conditions. And almost always I recommend this to people. The only exception is if you have very dry mucous membranes in your nose or you have a very dry sinus, then this may be contraindicated. But most people will benefit by using the neti pot at least once a week and using Nasya oil once a week minimally. You can use Nasya oil every day, honestly, because it tonifies and gives a deep level of nutrition and healing to all the mucous membranes in the nose and in the sinuses, etc., and even down the throat. Because when you apply Nasya oil, oftentimes it may feel uncomfortable at first because the oil may come down your throat, but it also medicates and helps with different issues of the throat, dry throat, mucousy throat, etc. So just so you know, it involves not just the nose, but the sinuses and the throat. And the fifth aspect of Panchakarma is Raktamokshana, which is bloodletting. So this is something that I do not do, and many Ayurvedic doctors in the West do not do, but it's definitely still part of the tradition of India. And it definitely still works, even though it's culturally done. It's mostly done in India still, not in the United States or in Europe, because it's something foreign to us. So Raktamokshana is therapeutic bloodletting to purify the bloodstream. It's used for a variety of disorders of the skin, for blood cleansing, and to increase immunity. Traditionally, Raktamokshana is done with leeches. Leeches are applied to the skin, and the leeches suck out blood from different areas. The traditional methods can only be done by a trained Ayurvedic doctor. An Ayurvedic doctor probably spends more years in study than an allopathic doctor does. It's 8 or more years to study to become a traditional Ayurvedic doctor. An Ayurvedic consultant can do many things that are basic in the Ayurvedic tradition, but this is not one of them. So if an Ayurvedic consultant or Ayurvedic coach or whatever tells you that they're going to do bloodletting, run, because they probably don't know what they're doing. And also, it's not something that many people in the West would want to have done. Would you want to have leeches on your skin? Probably not, because it's not part of our accepted mentality on healing in the West. I myself, when appropriate, use blood cleansing herbs. There are a special kind of herbs that could be made into special herbal preparations, such as that of burdock root, which can effectively cleanse the body with ease, without discomfort, etc. And it has a similar, the same effect as having used leeches. So if blood purification is necessary or blood tonification is necessary, I use herbs. So I invite you to expand your journey with me. I do Jyotish astrology readings, which can really help you to identify spiritual means of healing your body and your mind. I also teach people how to do Jyotish, or teach them how to do astrology charts for others. I offer private Hatha yoga lessons, Ashtanga yoga lessons, and Yin yoga lessons. And in your Ayurveda plan, I often invite you to email me or ask me if you would like to have yoga lessons that help to support your Ayurveda practice. I also do Western herbology consultation together with Ayurveda and separate from. There are some different mentalities. But in Ayurveda, I do Ayurveda in the West. Obviously, I live in the United States, or at least in the North American continent. I move around a lot to do my work. But I do use Western herbs a lot. It's not that I do not prescribe certain common herbs that come from India, but one thing that I'm a big believer in when offering nutritional plans and herbal plans is that in general, the food and the herbs that we intake into our body for healing should come from the land we were born in. Our body is accustomed to the nutrients in the soil that grow our foods that we eat. So it's traditionally understood that organic food locally grown in your area and organic herbs locally grown from your area when possible are the best things to intake into our body to create doshic balance. So oftentimes I will use very seemingly common herbs from the West to affect healing in the body and in the mind. But also, just so you know, I do offer Western herbology consultation, which has a slightly different take on the healing process than Ayurveda also, if you're interested in exploring that with me. So I hope you're enjoying what you're learning. I hope that your Ayurvedic plan is very fulfilling and nurturing and healing for you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for trusting me and for giving me the privilege of helping you, assisting you, walking with you on your healing journey. Thank you so much.